I'm here with Desert Storm in Desert Storm's van in Stafford today. How are you guys doing?
All good.
Could you introduce yourselves for the camera?
So, Elliot, play drums. Ryan, I play guitar.
I'm Chris, I'm a guitar player as well.
Cool. In your own words, who or what is Desert Storm?
Who and what is Desert Storm? I don't know where to start really. I mean, we've been going now for what, 12 years? 13 years. We were a band that have seen a lot of changes over the years. Obviously our sound has progressed quite a lot in those years, from our sort of early days as early days as more of a groove, hard rock, blues sort of band, and over the years sound has become a bit heavier and more progressive. So I think we're just a group of people that have all got diverse taste in music, and we've just had a sound that's sort of slowly evolved over the years, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. How's tour going for you so far?
It's been good. I've been ill for a couple of days, which sucks, but yeah, it's been good shows, isn't it? Good.
Yeah, all busy turnouts, like generally about 100 a night. Bit quieter last night, I'd say. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, maybe.
Yeah, selling merch, good times.
That's good. How does playing in small cities compare to what you might usually do with big cities or big festivals?
It's cool if the people are into it, and we've had a few surprises on this tour. So there's been a few places that we've been to and we've not been before. We didn't really know what to expect, but it turned out to be quite good. Like when we played in Bridgewater, Cobblestones, that was pretty good.
Cool,
I think also when it comes to quote unquote smaller towns, with all due respect to them, I think you do sometimes find that the shows can be busier just because in the larger cities there's so many other things going on. If you to go to somewhere like London or Manchester, you could be playing somewhere and there could be 3 or 4 other gigs on.
Yeah, all of the same genre.
A mile or 2 mile of the.
Especially like Camden, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas
that happened once when we had our album launch for Sensible, didn't it?
Whereas I think in the smaller towns, you do tend to get good turnouts because you know that you're not really going to have any gig clashes with other people. So they generally tend to be sort of well supported, and people like to come out to the shows. That's good to see.
That's good. That's cool. Well, you mentioned that your sound's progressed since you've started out. You got your 5th album in the works. Well, what's new musically on this album that you've not really done before?
We're tuning a lot lower now, I think.
I mean, that might be it really, because we have sort of dabbled in that kind of new sound before in certain songs like Titan on Horizontal Life, and there's a few on Sentinels which
Chris is doing a bit of vocals on this new album.
We found out what vocal harmonies are.
Yeah, we did a lot of that.
We've tried and failed to be the Eagles on this new album. So, but it's an interesting sort of new thing that we've got going on. So we'll see how it goes. But apart from that, we've brought an acoustic song back. Obviously, we hadn't done an acoustic track for a few years, so we brought one of those back. Because we like to have something on there that's a bit of a change of pace to everything else that's on there. But I think generally sort of a more cohesive album in terms of its tone and sound. I think.
I think it's I mean, we always sort of have that when you put out your album. Oh, it's the best album yet, but I think it is actually.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. Well, so speaking of albums, it's coming up to 10 years since Forked Tongues come out. Are you planning on commemorating it in any way?
I never thought about that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Do we play any? Well, we sometimes do Forked Tongues, don't we?
I mean,
that's like the only one that really gets played now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if we haven't really had any plans to commemorate it. I think, like I said, the sound of the band back then is very different to what it is now. So, I think unless you did a gig where you just played every song off of it, but I think that would sound a bit weird. So maybe we can just drop the odd song from it into our sets like here and there. But I think that album in particular, I think it was just a band still sort of finding its feet.
It's a bit flawed, wasn't it?
I think
we kind of see it as like the first album which is a bit better was really Horizontal Life. The one after that was where we sort of, I think that was like the first album.
Felt a bit more comfortable.
Almost like the first proper album.
Starting point,
So we were all like 18 when we thought times, weren't we?
Yeah, we were kids basically. So
fair. And when you were starting out, like, what was the scene like in Oxford, and is it much different now?
it used to be a lot better, really. There used to be some wicked bands like Winnebago Deal, Sexadecimo, like really good scene. But I don't know, a lot of them sort of broke up, or you know, I don't know. There was like a little bit of a comeback a few years ago, wasn't there? When there was a few more sort of bands getting together.
Yeah. There's not too many hard bands anymore. It's us and Indica Blues. Undersmile have just come back, but I don't.
Yeah.
They always were a band that did better out of Oxford. Really, like a lot. I don't know. Oxford's funny.
It does tend to come in waves as well. You will get a period where you have a lot of bands and a little kind of scene, a community develops around it, and then obviously those bands, they'll either stop doing what they're doing or they'll start branching out and playing in other places, and you will just get this natural ebb and flow, I think, where things will go quiet, and then, you know, I used to say that in a year or two things might sort of kick into life again, you know, and you might get a new crop of bands. I think
it happens with a lot of cities, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think being in a city where, you know, we've got two big universities there, so we've got a big student population, so I think where you've got a big student population, you're always going to have new people coming into the city who've, you know, got new ideas, and
Definitely.
Inevitably they're going to want to form bands, and they've got their sort of music societies and stuff. So I think as long as we've got that kind of student population, I think you're always going to get new stuff to flourish at some point or another. So, you know, I don't think there's any reason to be too concerned. It's more loss of venues really is the more that's the bigger concern really, rather than
that's why like, tours like this are important. Highlights the fact that, you know, it's independent venue week and it's good. Maybe people make an effort a bit more this week, but like at the same time they should be trying to do that anytime, you know, like go out and see the bands, because like you know, the big bands that people love, they've all had to start on these smaller venues, and if we lose them, then we're fucked with it, aren't we? So.
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, we shouldn't have independent music week. It should just be
always.
Just you know, just always support your local independent venues, and just, you know, try and stop as many from closing as possible.
We had a couple shut down in Oxford, sort of within months of each other last year. The Sallow and the Purple Turtle, and they were both pretty cool places. There's only like maybe 3 venues now in Oxford, which is good for like rock and metal bands anyway. There's some smaller ones as well, but
I've always thought Desert Storm, like I've noticed on the last couple of albums, that there's like a lot of different musical ideas coming in, like lots of different influences. So is there one person that brings in sounds from a certain point? Like, who brings in what influence in this band?
Well, these guys, it's usually one of them, you know, start with a riff idea and then songs are based around them, really. But I think you do more of the heavier ones, maybe.
And the odd time signatures is probably more me, I think. But Chris, I find Chris's best riffs that he comes up with are the ones that he comes up with improvisation on the spot. Like, I'll have something, like one riff, I'll be like, I've got nothing else to go with it, and they just be like, oh, what about this? And then he'll have some really cool ideas. I think that's where your best ideas come from. That on the spot.
I think.
Whereas mine are the ones where I kind of write loads of shit riffs and scrap loads, and then suddenly I'll get one thing that sounds good. So
Chris writes a lot of the sort of cleaner sections as well.
Yeah, I think it's like musical background as well. Ryan is stronger in writing the sort of heavier progressive riffs, like he said. And in terms of my background, I've probably more suited to the bluesier, groovier side of things. So that's the more of the influence that I've brought in. And I think that's why in previous albums there has been that sense of the very varied styles across the whole album, where you have some tracks that are very heavy and progressive and other tracks that are more traditional, just hard rock blues songs. I think this latest album, I think it's probably probably the first time I think we've actually been able to
Combine it all.
combine the two together, but in a way that everything sounds coherent, rather than it being individually styled songs, and it doesn't end up sounding like a compilation album of 4 different bands. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's how it's divided between us.
Nice. A quick word about Reed Mullin from Corrosion of Conformity.
Yeah, sad news.
That was this week. I mean, you guys, you similar genre, and you've played with Corrosion. So, what does Corrosion of Conformity mean for you as listeners and musicians?
Very influential, aren't they? You know, like he was a great player, and he taken too young, really. But no, we only met him once. We played with COC a couple of times, but he wasn't playing the last time we played.
He's still ill.
That was in Paris, wasn't it? But the first time was at the Underworld a few years back, and he was just a really friendly guy, you know. And it's a big loss for the whole music scene, really. So.
Yeah, I think also for like the longevity of career as well, when you think for the amount of time that they've been operating for.
For sure.
Because I think we can all name, dozens and dozens of bands that we've loved that have, stopped operating, kind of would have loved to have seen them progress. So I think one thing that Corrosion really sort of go to show is that, you can sort of keep things together, and even though there might be sort of subtle lineup changes, when people have different projects, because I know that
like when Pepper was off for a while, wasn't he?
But they've always seemed to have found a way to keep that band going. Which I think is admirable. I think it's really important, and I think that's something that is a good example to other people. But it was a sad loss, obviously.
Of course. Well, let's finish off with some quick fire questions. So you guys are Desert Storm, but would you rather be trapped in the middle of a desert or caught in the middle of a storm?
Storm,
yeah.
It might be quite fun.
Yeah.
Middle of a desert, nothing to drink. Oh no. I hate being hot as well, because I just get sunburnt so easily, so I just melt, to be honest. So I'd go for storm.
It's fairly British, isn't it, being in a storm?
A bit more what we're used to, I think.
What's your favourite beer?
You like the old Tom, don't you?
I do, actually, actually. That's topical, happened last night, Good old Tom.
Well, to be honest, I'm not going to come up with a great answer here. I like a lot of cheap, shitty lagers, Peroni, Stella. Give it me any day, I'm happy with that. I'd rather drink that than some fucking ale.
Fair.
So that's it.
I have to say Carlsberg, Can't get much better than that.
Coors Light.
What a connoisseur.
I don't know, really,
Great choices.
I had this, there was nice beer in Belgium. There's a lot of nice beers in Belgium, but this one I remember trying a few years ago in Antwerp called Bar. I remember that being really good. Yeah.
But what? Named after the elephant?
Or the
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who
in Desert Storm has got the best beard?
Well, I've got the messiest beard,
and the biggest.
I actually I trimmed it a little bit now. I just got married, but before that I used to just let it grow. I just didn't really bother styling it or anything.
I think it's got to go to Elliot. It's the biggest beard. It's got the most food in it. I think we give that one.
You mentioned Acoustic Songs earlier, but let's say hypothetical situation. You're asked to go on MTV and do an unplugged show. What songs are going to be in that set list?
We have done acoustic sets before with Nick Oliveri, so songs like Pocket Watch from the early album, like Forked Tongues, that worked really well. Gaia, we obviously do Home and Rebirth, which is the new one, which is like Home. We could quite easily do
Connected,
that.
Isn't it?
Connected, maybe some of the songs like Path of Most Resistance could probably lend itself quite well to being acoustic.
I think if there was one that we could do to mix into that, I think we could do Shenzhen, because that's probably the one song in our back catalogue that would be least suited to doing as an acoustic version. So just out of curiosity, I just want to do it.
I could see Capsized working.
Yeah, that might work.
I could
Especially
see
that middle
sort
section.
of
Yeah.
cleaner verses and stuff.
And well, you've been on tour. What songs have been on the tour playlist this time?
Not enough actually, so we've only got bloody half an hour sets each night.
Yeah, it's frustrating really.
Bit hard choosing, but
It's been generally quite similar, like playing Journey's End and a new song. Played one new song called Vengeful Gods, which is going to be on the album in May. Too Far Gone, Queen Reefer, Kingdom of Horns,
Enslaved in the Icy Tundra. We did Titan one night.
The Jackal we did one night.
We did in Bridgewater because there's a fan there that absolutely loves that song and we haven't played it in ages.
Swear the Tides we did an Oxford.
Yeah, I did that.
So that's the good thing about having the new album, because we can just completely refresh the set. Because
we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, because this is a set we've been playing for quite a long time,
Yeah.
so it's going to be nice to just have a clean break. And
That's why we're only playing one song for the new album at the moment, because every time we put out a new album, like the songs have been played like 6 months prior to its release. This time we want to just wait for it to come out and then just play all new stuff for people. So
Cool.
it should work.
Thanks so much for your time. It's been
Thank you.
Yeah,
good
thank you,
speaking
man.
to you. It's been Desert Storm. We're in Stafford. See you later.
Cheers.